Welcome everyone to our episode 98 of our podcast Cultivating a New Generation. In today's episode, I have an honored guest, Dr. Susan Lovelle, and we are going to talk about Let Go and Live, Thriving Through the Decades. So, as you see, it will be a very interesting topic because we are going to discuss several tips and practical things that you can do in order to have a more fulfilling life, not just today, but for the decades to come. So, Dr. Susan Lovelle is the tribe architect, is the founder Premier Wellness, offering all-in-one lifestyle health solution for busy women professionals. She specializes in boosting personal energy, optimizing weight, and balancing hormones to unlock their peak performance in every aspect of life. Having been a professional ballet dancer for 17 years and then an award-winning plastic surgeon for over 2 decades, Dr. Susan knows what it's like to beat your body and your mind into submission to achieve a certain look or vision. In fact, the physical, mental, and emotional abuse she heaped on her own body during those years led to the life-threatening health issues she later developed, and it was only through a personalized, holistic approach that she healed herself. Now, Dr. Susan uses her additional expertise in lifestyle medicine to help others heal from the inside out, leading to lasting, powerful change. Dr. Susan and her team work virtually and in person through speaking, workshop, courses, and retreats. Her corporate wellness programs impact um, innovative companies such as Activision and Blackline. Most recently, she has developed a turnkey program for med spas and healthcare professionals who want to bring lifestyle-based health to their own clients. Dr. Susan has been featured on The Doctors, the docu-series Exhausted, Lifetime TV, The Huffington Post, Forbes, Training Magazine, No Women, Good Morning Washington, and Good Day Charlotte. Her book, Thrive, the 5-week guide to mastering your energy at any age, is available on Amazon, and we will post all the links to her social platforms also down in the captions. Thank you, Dr. Susan, for this honor for being here in the podcast. I am really excited to know first. I would like to know, how did you arrive to this business, to this helping people in the health and longevity?
Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you so much, David, for having me on this podcast. I'm so excited to be here. And it wasn't a straight journey, I'm going to say, but I am going to tell you where it started. And it literally started when I was 6 years old. Not going to be a long, long story, but I was 6 years old and fell in love with my pediatrician. I thought he was the coolest guy on the earth. And I told him when I was 6 that I was going to be a doctor someday. And he said then that he would help me. And believe it or not, 20 plus years later, when I was applying to medical school, he remembered me. He wrote a letter for me. And I'm sure that had a lot to do with me getting into medical school. So that's how it started. But in between those two things, I was actually a professional ballet dancer for 17 years. And we traveled around the world. And if you think about dancers, they're physically, they look great physically on the outside, but they tend to be not so healthy on the inside. They're always doing this very, very strict dieting for the most part. Many of them smoked. I never did smoke, but it was a very stressful period in my time, in my life, and a lot of that had to do with me going what happened later. Um, when you can't dance forever though. And so at some point it just wasn't, it hurt. It hurt more than it was fun to be on stage performing. And so that's when I started thinking about, whoa, maybe it is time to go to medical school. And I applied and luckily I got in. And I fell in love, and it makes sense now when I'm looking back on it. I fell in love with plastic surgery
Mm.
because, unlike traditional internal medicine or family practice, where you saw the same people year after year with the same problems, high blood pressure and diabetes, and all you did was give them a pill, in plastic surgery, somebody would come in one way, you did something, and they went out completely a different way. I wanted that transformation. And that's what I was so excited, why I'm so excited about what I do now, being able to make those transformations from the inside out as opposed to the outside in.
Yeah, I completely agree with that because many things we have a personality inside of us that is still stuck in a place where probably we are repeating certain toxic behaviors, and we just get attached to that because of many of the messages from mainstream media, such as the perfect figure that you should have or the perfect fitness that you should look like, all of those things, and also the pressure from family, etc. All of those things, the culture, tell us the opposite messages that we need in order to really look for our health in terms of loving what we are doing because we care about our bodies, because we care about our brain, and because we care about our emotional stability also, no?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you help people first to start um, decluttering all of those messages of toxicity that probably when they begin a journey into health, that's the first step to really see how emotionally they are primed to become, I don't know, they have probably labels that they are fat, that they are not good to exercise, that they don't like certain healthy foods, etc. How do you begin to start taking away those messages?
Wow, that is such such a good question. And it's one of the biggest issues that we see in things like lifestyle medicine, because I think for the most part, many, many, many people are so used to, like I said before, you go in to see your doctor or your healthcare provider, they see you've got a diagnosis or a disease, they give you a pill, have an ill, take a pill, and you think that's the answer. So many times when you talk to someone and you say, I will ask them, do you have diabetes? And they'll say, oh no, I take my medicine, so I don't have it. Well, what happens if you don't take the medicine? That sort of thing. So the very first thing that we often have to help people with is realizing that there is something going on in their lives, and that it's something that can be changed, hopefully without a specific, having to be on a medication for the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
And I often hope that I get them before they get to the point that I did. They were, it literally stopped my life 3 times in the space of a year. I ended up in the intensive care unit because I wasn't listening to my own body about what it was trying to tell me about my own health.
Mhm.
And 3 times in the space of a year, I was in the intensive care unit. And it wasn't until that third time that I actually heard, what my body was trying to tell me, which was slow down, take better care of yourself, and then you'll actually thrive. Thrive architect. Um, so yeah, that's our very, very first step with people, is showing them, whatever way that works for them, what is going on in their bodies. A lot of times now we will do lab work, and I will show them the labs and show them what these labs mean, especially if they don't start making changes now.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. And also, well, now that you mentioned listening to the body, that is extremely important everywhere in or every step of the way in our lives, because many times our body has very subtle ways of telling us you are just abusing yourself of anything that you are doing, whatever it can be. It can be smoking, it can be drinking, it can be working, it can be just being emotionally deprived of many things. And now we are seeing an epidemic of loneliness, for example, and depression. So all of those things can start permeating our health, and we don't know how to listen to our body. So,
Mm,
how do you teach people to start listening to the messages? Because for us, probably it is easier to recognize those messages because we have lived more attuned to all of those tips that our body is giving us. But for people that are uh, constantly hustling and working overtime, or just uh, living life in a hamster wheel,
right,
they
right.
don't know how to recognize, and they say, how or can I recognize that my body is speaking? No?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, because I always say that your body will whisper to you, and if you don't get that message, it's going to start yelling. So,
Yeah.
so the way that I do, if someone has never done it before, has no idea, what I'll start them with is something like a food, mood, and activity journal. Okay, so what they're doing is for a week, they're just writing down what am I eating, not changing anything. What am I eating? How am I feeling? What am I able to do? And what they'll start to see is, maybe when I eat this particular food, a day or so later, I'm exhausted, or I have a headache, or I break out in a rash. Or maybe it's when I do this activity, then it's just seeing the connections. You
Hmm.
know, once people are able to start seeing those connections, then they're able to say, okay, well, whoa, this feeling, which is not
Nor
good,
yeah.
is what or normal, is what my body's trying to tell me, and helping them to realize what is normal and good and what isn't. That's another thing I see a lot is that people just assume that as we get older, you're going to have pain, you're going to have issues, you're going to have all of these things that develop. And it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
as you get older, you have arthritis and joint pain and aches and you don't sleep. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. I have a story about that because I have some friends that um, when they see me, they haven't seen me probably for 5 years or 10 years, and they saw me the last time, and they said, "You are almost identical, like you were in 10 years before." And I said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just loving myself, doing
Exactly.
whatever my body asks me to do. If I am tired, I sleep earlier.
Yes.
If I have a like you mentioned, paying attention to what you eat and it doesn't feel good in your body, or you have a diarrhea next, or you have a constipation or whatever it is. I try to pay attention to that kind of food and those kind of things that are just bothering in my body. Also, the type of work that I do. I
Mhm,
know that certain mechanical work for me is very tiring, and
mhm,
I get bored easily about that work. So I usually try to schedule that type of work together with the creative work that I enjoy, and I mix them up so that I don't get really drained in my energy. No,
that's
so,
right. Oh, so many different things you just brought up with
yeah.
that. Yeah,
But
yeah.
but I think that it all begins with paying attention to what we are doing, and that makes me wonder, what do you think about being present with yourself?
Oh,
No?
absolutely so necessary and so often overlooked. I think a lot of us are so busy doing,
Yeah.
doing things from the second we wake up in the morning and we're on our phones scrolling and checking things, emails and social media, and that we never even take a moment, from the beginning of the day to check in with ourselves first. check in with how you are feeling first, and before you start going out into what all the rest of the world is interested in and doing and being and everything. So that's like number one, starting with you. And that's another thing we always talk about is have your morning start right,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like.
That's so important because if you are not in the present moment, then you are bringing more past messages or future worries to the mix of being just busy. For example, I have listened so many times to many of my clients and my friends, even and family members, that they tell me why I just suggest something that they can do, and they say I don't have time, and I say so everything else is more important than
Mhm.
you.
And you.
That's what you're telling me, no?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I just turn the question around like that, they say, no, but I'm busy. Well, you are important too. So you can just carve some time, even 10 minutes, and start from there, no?
Exactly. What is that? There's a saying that says, you should meditate for an hour a day unless you don't have the time, and then you should meditate for two. And I
Yeah.
forget who said that, but it's like, it's saying that the more time you take to become you and to nourish your own body and self and mind, the more time you have and the more ability you have to give to others. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And now that we are touching that topic, it is, I think, about the habits, no? How do you help people also to start building some healthier habits, or what is the number one habit that you can begin with
Mhm.
when a person is just completely uh, in the
Completely off the rails.
oblivious world?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. That's a good one. What would be the first? To be honest, I usually try to tell they're like, not eating, not exercise, not doing anything
Yeah.
in what we call the right way. The very first thing I ask them to do is to actually to commit, believe it or not, to commit to making a change over the next month and just one change. Because if you give somebody, oh, you're going to change your diet and you're going to change your sleep and you're going to change then it's just too much and their minds explode. But if they can commit to saying, I love me enough to make one change and stick with it for the next 30 days, then when they see something, when they see a change, then it gives them motivation to continue doing other things, you know? And we in Premier Wellness, we tend to start with we call it the power wheel. But what it does is it allows people to see in the four quadrants of life, which are for us, therefore, how you're eating, how you're moving, how you're living, which is your stress, your sleep, your hormones, and how you're loving yourself, the world, and others in those four quadrants, which is the one that's the best for you and which is the one where you're struggling the most. And then you can pick something. You can either try and take the one that's doing well and make it a lot better, or you can take the one that's really kind of struggling and, try to move that one up, whatever way. But you pick one thing, not a whole bunch, but just one thing and move that one forward. And that makes you strong. It's like when you exercise a muscle, the more you exercise the muscle, the stronger it gets.
Yeah. I agree, and I think that's a very good strategy in order to make people believe in themselves, no?
Yes.
Which is
Yes.
something that when they arrive, that's the first thing that they don't have, confidence in
Mm.
themselves, no? And they are just, as we mentioned, they are full of those messages and labels and probably failures with other
Yeah.
kind of people that they have gone. Uh, and they are almost in the quitting stage. But
Exactly.
doing that, returning that confidence back to them is
Mhm.
extremely important because as you mentioned, it is not well to begin with a person. It is not first to start overwhelming themselves with so many things. It is just doing one thing and repeating it until you start seeing result for that
with that.
particular thing. Yes.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I was gonna say, I think a lot of, like in plastic surgery, we would have people come in for surgery when I was a plastic surgeon for 20 plus years. We would have people come in and they would see the television shows, where someone would come in, they'd have a surgery, and then the next thing you see is their post-op, months in the future. So people would come in and they would actually expect, okay, I'm going to have this big surgery and I'm going to be up and running around next week. Well, no, that doesn't happen. There's a growing period, a healing period. It's the same thing with our lives when we're doing from the inside out. You don't change in 2 weeks, or sometimes even 2 months. It can take months to years to completely turn things around. And a lot of us, because we're so used to that instant gratification, we don't want to wait. We want it to happen last week. So that's another thing that I've learned is how do you give people that belief, that it's going to happen, give them maybe a couple of quick wins so that they can see some kind of change, and then support them as they're making the other changes that definitely are going to take longer. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great way to make them successful in their journey.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And now that you mention also that instantaneous things and about the healing that people should expect their bodies also to have, I was just going to share also that just 2 months and 2 weeks before, I had a surgery, an appendix surgery,
Mhm.
and I had to reset my body completely
Oh,
because the
absolutely.
doctor told me, no, you can walk, you can swim in probably in 1 week or in 2 weeks, depending how you feel, but you should go in that pace, and that's it. You
Mhm.
cannot lift any kind of weights right
Mhm.
now. And I was really sad a little bit because I was used to doing a lot of exercise and routines and all of those things, and but I started to be more compassionate with myself and to be in the process of getting in my mind that I have 2 months to go up again. And as I like to train and compete also, I am used to the training programs. So I saw it as a training for my body, as a healing training for my body, and I just went very easy, just feeling how my body was responding to the amount of exercise and just increasing, I don't know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes in the routines of walking or swimming, and just feeling week by week how my body was feeling. And it was just amazing how my body responded because I was feeling strength just as short as in the third week. In the third week of returning to do some exercise, I was just feeling really, really stronger, and my body was responding in a way that I said, "That's why I love you, and that's why I care for you every day." And that's something that people forget many times to talk to themselves, to talk to their bodies, to be grateful of
Mhm.
every single thing because we take it for granted. Breathing, we take for granted walking, we take for granted thinking, and all of those things. And whenever you have a disease or a surgery or whatever, and you don't have any of those things,
You do it. Right.
that's when
Right.
you really appreciate it. No, and we don't have to get to those points in order to appreciate things. So how do you work with people in terms of the dialogue that they have?
That they're telling there. Well, what you were when you were telling the story, it made me think about the second thing we were talking about. So we've got listen to your body. The second one is let go of whatever isn't serving you. And what you did, what you had to do to be able to heal that third thing, you had to let go of what your previous workout routine was. You had to say, this is not going to work right now. Let me do something different. And that's the second thing that we share with people as far as, talking to your head. And it may be, with you, it was a very, um, a sharp thing because you had a surgery. You could do one thing one day and the next day you couldn't because of surgery. But with a lot of us, it's, as we start to get older, we can't do the things we used to do. Like I can't dance like I could dance 30, 40 years ago. That's just not going to happen anymore. And you have to be able to let that go and realize what you still can do and build on what you can do. And then as you do that, your body, like you just saw, your body gets stronger. And then and then you are grateful for what it's doing for you right now, as opposed to living in the past and being sad because you can't do everything you used to. So that's the second step. That's the second part of talking to yourself and helping yourself move on to that better way of living.
Yeah, and when you mention let go and just recognizing that you have to just be compassionate and graceful with yourself in terms of standing where you are and knowing that right now probably you are 45, 50, whatever it is, the age that you have,
Mhm.
recognizing that your body is changing and recognizing that your body needs different things also, no?
Yes, yes. So, so, so true. We're so used to, oh, I could do this when I was 20. Well, guess what?
Yeah, you are not going to be able to do it.
But that's okay. We're moving into a different part of life, and there's so much beauty in every stage of our lives. And when we try to hold on to so tightly to something else that's in the past, then we don't open ourselves up for all of that good that we've got going now and that's available to us in the future.
Yeah. And I think that that is just also these messages from mainstream also media that is just
Sure.
telling us that aging is not good. As what and in these days we have seen that many people that are probably famous and actors and they are embracing themselves in their own age and they are giving the opposite message now that it is I am enjoying the age that I have. I am
Yeah.
enjoying how I am, wrinkle or whatever it is that change in my body. And I think that's part of life also.
Yeah.
Accepting your own age, accepting your own change in
Mhm.
time,
Mhm.
and grieving gracefully, I would
Mhm.
say. No.
Yes. Yes, I like that. I like that. And it's not just sitting in a couch and saying, oh, I'm older, so I'm not going to do anything. But it's saying, okay, maybe what I could do, 10 years ago, I'm not doing, but I can do this now, and it opens us up to so much more.
Yeah,
So I call it loving yourself, but not staying there. You love what body you've got and you make it the absolute best that it can be right now. And then, then life is good.
exactly. And
Mhm.
challenging, I think, um, moving ourselves from the comfort zone also into a new type of routine or new type of lifestyle as you are mentioning. It is a kind of stress situation, but it's the good stress. It's the stress that your body and your mind needs in order to grow, in order to be younger, because we can age chronologically, but we can be younger inside, which
Yes.
is the biological age. And I think that that is also a concept that many people don't appreciate because it's not something that we see, is something that we are feeling, no? Because I can be probably I just turned 47 this past Sunday, and I don't feel. Thank you. I know that you was your birthday too, so
Birthdays
happy
this week.
birthday to you too. And I just didn't feel that I haven't felt the years probably in the last 10 that have passed because I'm not um, fixating my mind into the chronological number, but I
Right.
am paying more attention to what you said, that is embracing what I can do now. And now my body is demanding more strength exercises, for
Yeah.
example, more
Yes.
than the explosive cardio that I used to do. No,
Mhm.
so I'm embracing that strength that my body needs and is asking for, and I'm doing those exercises and I'm measuring myself and trying to improve or to move certain exercises in order to just also allow my body to be in discomfort, no?
Yes. Yes. That is so key. And it's just that whole cardio versus strength, not that you only do one versus the other. But and more science is seeing that as we age, that strength becomes more and more important.
Yeah.
For balance, for walking, for stability. It's amazingly more important than getting on a bike and
Yeah.
you know, or running for an hour.
Marathons. Yes.
Right. Exactly. It's much more important for us. So yeah.
Yeah. So how do you help people to mm, adapt easier
Mhm.
into that discomfort? Because when they start these new changes, they are going to feel discomfort, and many times that is something that can probably lead them to quit. So
Yeah. When we first started, I have a personal trainer who works with a certified personal trainer. And when we first started, because we were so gung ho and we wanted people to experience everything all at once, and we would just kind of put them on this really, really explosive kind of strength workout and everything, and people just got burnt burnt out really fast because they went from doing nothing to like really hurting the next couple of days. Then they're like, I think I'm gonna just back off, back off. So now we take them where they are, and it's like really a stepwise thing that we add, piece by piece by piece. And like you said, we learned it the hard way. You can't just go from 1 to 100 like that. It doesn't work that way. But
Mhm.
it is important to get there, to get as close to 100 as you can, as safely as possible. So yeah, we have incorporated that. Which then makes it that every program, even though we're all working towards the same end, is completely different for everyone because your one person may come in with this ability versus that, and the speed that they can improve is going to be different. Their
Mhm.
flexibility is different, so it really varies from person to person.
Yeah, and I think that concept is also very, very important because we tend to compare ourselves with other people, and more now with these platforms that are just made for that, and
Exactly.
we lose track of our own progress,
Mhm.
and the only person that you are competing with is yourself. So it is
Exactly.
just trying to improve your own marks, your own weight that probably you are lifting or whatever, and paying more attention to how you feel also in terms of your mood, in terms of your mental stamina, because that also is extremely important as we pass through the decades, no?
Yes.
Recognizing our mood and recognizing our cognitive skills is
Mhm.
very important, and I think it goes together with this lifestyle change, no?
Oh, yes, yes. Again, what science is seeing more and more that as we move more, our brains stay healthier. I mean, it's all connected. And I think previously we used to try to put everything in its own little bucket. This is how you eat, or that's how you do that. And it really is all one big thing that makes us who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I call them the pillars of health, and I
Mhm.
also teach the 5 pillars, and I tell people, well, we are not made of one. I mean, if I take away your emotions, what would you be? If I take away your cognitive skills, what would you do? If I take away your physical ability, you are so all of those things compose your being, no? And the spiritual side.
Mhm.
What about the spiritual side? What do you do for people so that they be more in touch with that spiritual?
Yes, yes. I love that question. And it's funny because I work with a lot of professionals, and sometimes there are some who are very open to it,
Yeah,
and we're not saying religious, we're saying spiritual. There's a difference.
yeah.
So there are some who are open to that, and they're the ones who tend to be more open anyway. But then there are others who don't acknowledge that need. And so we don't want to force it down their throat, but we do ask them to at least start with understanding and feeling themselves, loving themselves. And that's why I say it always starts with that, with self-care and love of yourself. And then once you've got that straight and you start bringing that out to people around you, whoop, you need to get that back up. um, yeah, so when when they start realizing that, then they start realizing that we are all connected,
Mhm.
all of us. And when we see that connection, then we can start seeing the divinity. And I say divine, not anything in any particular religion, but the divinity, the one thing that unites us all. And when you can see that and tap into that and that infinite energy that's there, then you've got something that you can run
I think that's why the book fall because
with.
we were talking about the spiritual things, and I think that this energy that we are right now creating is also visually now, and that's the energy that connects people. And also we have seen in several studies and several journals and evidence and data that when we exercise with a group of people, we tend to do it in an easier way. We enjoy it more, and we feel our tank of emotions. And we let go many of the negativity because many times when we talk with each other, the other person probably had another problem, which is much bigger than the one that you had, and you thought that your life was really difficult. But when you listen to the other person, you say, "Oh my God, what am I complaining about?"
Yeah, exactly. Walking in someone else's shoes, you know what they say, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's also very, very important in these lifestyle changes. When we share, even going to a gym, when we go and we smile to other people, we are just saying hi to the people that we see often. We that is a boost of oxytocin, no? And that's a very important hormone in order to keep your mood better, probably for the whole day, no?
Mhm. It's amazing what a smile does. And, maybe that's one reason why I have good days, many, many, many more good days and maybe not so great days, because I love to smile and I love to share that smile with other people. And so yes, I'm giving out that positive energy, but I'm also getting back a lot of positive energy, throughout the day. So it's a wonderful thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So, in order to start wrapping up and helping people with these decades, no, we can go. Of course, we can go more. Uh, how do you start introducing people to recognize that as we go into the decades, as we mentioned in the title,
Mhm.
living and let go through the decades, how do you um, either guide them or coach them into embracing each of the decades that they are going to pass? We mentioned something, but how do you help them to just be grateful with where they are? No.
Right. So again, with people who aren't as in tune with themselves, like in other words, the traditional person that comes to me, the first thing we do is we realize that there are those seasons in life. That's the way it is, and the three big ones that I have are like the pre, the childbearing years. So that's, your 20s to maybe 30, 35, maybe a little bit longer. Then we get the perimenopausal years. And it's not just, I mentioned this before, it's not just the perimenopause, it's also periandropause. Men go through it just as much as women do. And things start changing. That's when you're in that 40, 45 plus, and things are not the way they used to be. Then after that is that postmenopausal, the post-andropause. And that's that third really big section in life. So those are those three big ones that we have going on. And the first thing is for people to recognize what stage they're in. The childbearing is pretty clear. The postmenopausal and postandropause is pretty clear. It's that one that's kind of in the middle, when you're kind of fluxing in and out, and it's like, what is going on? That kind of stuff. That's the one that can be a little harder to
Challenging.
recognize. Yeah, and to deal with because it is so fluctuating. The women that have hot flashes and things are just kind of going all over the place. Men will be more moody and start having issues with gaining muscle and things like that. So we start seeing these changes that they're no longer used to, and they haven't gotten all the way through it. So it can be a little bit difficult.
Mhm.
And as we talked about, listen, let go. And now we're at that third thing, which is live, to live your own version of thriving. And that's that final step to just living whatever it is, because now because you've been listening, you let go of what didn't work. And now the things that do work for you are the things you want to embrace and run with, at least for this stage in your life. And only you know what that is. You have to decide, am I going to continue running and doing a lot of cardio because that's what the experts say? Or am I going to, like we were saying, focus more on strength because that's what my body wants? Am I going to eat more vegetables and fruits because my body's liking that better than all of the fried and whatever processed foods that I used to be eating? So it's really a matter of you sticking with your own, whatever your body's been telling you, because that's what's working.
Yes, that's so important because the food tasted change. And for example, after the surgery, I didn't like too much the coffee. And before the surgery, I was drinking coffee almost every day, no? But something happened and I just took a change for dark chocolate. So what I drink now is dark pure cacao, and that's what I drink in the mornings.
Yeah.
So and my body is responding pretty well to, because with coffee I was like, I think that's enough for coffee. So
Hmm.
and I just respected that. I didn't got attached to why not coffee and just drinking more
Right.
coffee. And
That's the whole thing. It's like knowing what your body lives and giving it to it.
yeah, and not and we are not going to damage our body just because we want to get anchor to certain stage, no? And I think that's just returning to a teenage mindset, no? Where you are just rebelling with your own parenting things that you have, no?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And um, finally, what can you advise people to start doing in their own lives so that they feel more in gratitude? Because we didn't speak about gratitude, but this is the time where we can speak about being grateful. No.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, I usually, when I'm working with someone, I usually have them do it at either end, either bookend, and often the evening is better because you tend to have more time, you're more relaxed, you don't have to rush into anything else. And so when you just sit there, again, it doesn't have to be long. That's another thing. People often think, oh, I've got to do something for an hour. No, you don't. 5 minutes of being totally present and grateful is a good thing. It, like you said, the oxytocin, all of those good hormones, those good happy hormones get turned on when we do that. So, and writing it down is also very, very valuable. And the reason for that, well, two reasons. One, when you actually write something, it stimulates not only your brain, but your heart, your entire nervous system, just that writing. Plus, then you've got a record, so maybe a month
Mhm.
or two from now, when things are not as happy as you would like, you can take that journal out and read it and just remember all of the wonderful things that have come into your life and that you're grateful for. And then just reading them again is just it brings them all up again, gives you those same feelings again. So
Relieving, no? And that is in a positive way because you are um, priming your mind into a good positive loop of thoughts, no?
yeah.
And I also do some of these exercises of journaling, although I have several notebooks where I just write. If I find one here, I do it here. If I find one in my living room, I do it there. So, but I sometimes I pick them up and I just look to what I wrote 15, 20, or 10 years ago. And I said, wow, this is really something that I wrote and I wanted, and it happened the way I wrote it. So
Isn't that
this
amazing?
that is extremely good because it made me think again in that mood, in that mindset of attracting the things, but by appreciating my own stage, no?
Yes, yes. Gratitude is so, so, so powerful. It really is. Yeah.
Thank you,
Mhm.
Susan, for such an amazing time, for such an amazing explanation of how we can embrace our life, let go the things that we have to let go, and live in the moment, in the present time, and live with a lifestyle that is going to help us embrace our lives with more compassion and with more happiness, no, I think.
Yes. And grace. Compassion, happiness, and grace. I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening, and we will post every social platform that Susan is going to give us. And also, Susan, where can people find you and how can they contact you for any of the programs, or what is your next course or workshop that you are going to do?
Yes, I'm actually about to do a virtual and online workshop for women. It's going to be called Revitalizing Rhythms. It's
Okay.
balancing your hormones and your habits for peak performance. So it's looking at it from both angles, from the physical wellness and efficiency part, but then also from the productivity and efficiency aspect. And when you get those two things working together, then you've got a day where you're efficient, you're balanced, you're feeling good, and life just gets good. So we're doing just 90 minutes, and you'll walk away with a 30-day plan on how you can increase both of those things.
Nice.
Yeah.
And where can they find you?
I'm on my website is Premier Wellness, www. Oh my goodness. Premier, and Premier is spelled Premiere wellness.com.
Nice.
I'm there. And then you said you'll be putting the socials on as well.
Yeah.
So it's on
Okay.
LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. And I just started TikTok.
Okay.
Just started. So
Perfect. I will post the most important social platforms. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, everyone. And we will listen to each other on our next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.